everyone. Welcome to Global Meetings Industry Day 2026, which is another term of Gmid, the largest and most important event of the year. There are millions of leaders and professionals in the industry from around the world celebrating and advocating today, meetings, conferences, conventions, events, and so much more. So we're just so happy you all are here with us today. I'm Deborah Gardner, Hospitality Today Live host, and I am thrilled to be here again for another year of fantastic conversations. And we have a great one for you here today. You know, travel is essential. And how do we know? Well, according to 2024 reports, we have here that meetings actually generated $126 million, which supported over 620,000 jobs. So it is large. It is humongous. It's huge. I think the only industry bigger than the hospitality industry is the government. That's how big we are. And again, I'm so thrilled that you all are here and cannot wait to introduce to you Jim Thompson, who actually is a CAE and an IOM, and we're going to have him explain exactly what that is when we come back. So don't go far away. We'll be right here on GMID Day 2026. Day 2026. I am so thrilled again to be here as your host on Hospitality Today Live. And our guest today, I'd like to introduce to you, who is Jim Thompson. He is a CAE, IOM, and President and CEO of Tying It Together Consultants. So let's bring him to the stage here. Hi, Jim.
Hi, Deborah. How are you doing?
I'm so excited to be here with you and to see you again, especially all the exciting news about you. I think it's been since 2023 that you've been on the show, and now you're coming back as a whole new entity, and I'm sure so many people want to know about you. And I think where we need to start is to have you talk about who you are, what you're all about, and what you've been up to, along with what is a CAE and an IOM?
I mean, you know, Deborah, that's a fair question. I get that asked all the time. You know, I think anybody in our industry, whether it's hospitality or associations, we see all these acronyms after everybody's names and question like, what in the world are those? So first and foremost, CAE is the Certified Association Executive designation. There are about 4,700 of those in the U.S. today. That is actually a designation that is run through the American Society of Association Executives. And the IOM stands for the Institute for Organizational Management. That is a designation that's run through the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Now, that does include both association and chamber professionals. And it's a great program. It's actually a 4-year program. I kind of almost refer it to almost like a master's level in chamber or association management, because you spend 4 years, a week every year at either, like, I know there's 4 different sites across the country. I did mine at Villanova University, and, you know, they bring in just these amazing instructors just to talk about various aspects of the association management profession. And so once you graduate, you get your IOM degree. So yeah, so CAE, IOM, all those things. It basically just certifies that I've been in this profession for a long time now. So.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have. And it's so fun because I actually got a chance to meet you a couple of years ago and to work with you as well. And as a matter of fact, I was able to dig up one of these.
I love it.
You and I.
That's a nice flashback.
It is a great flashback here in Phoenix, Arizona. I know one of your keynote speakers got ill the night before, and I was so happy to jump in at that time, because I tell you what, we wouldn't be sitting here together probably.
Absolutely.
We didn't know each other. Yeah.
Hey, it's the power of relationships, right?
Right, exactly. That's what we're all about. And I'm so glad you explained what your credentials are, because there's a lot of new people in the industry that really don't know about that. And again, that's what's so great about having you as an expert here. And I want you to tell us a little bit about your services as a consultant, and your necktie as well, that your trademark. That's how I always remember you by. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with the consulting.
Yeah. So, it's interesting. A good friend of mine who I know really well, Stan Phelps, who's also a professional speaker in this industry. Actually, when I was first starting my business, or at least had the initial concept of the business, I had my website up, and Stan did me the great favor of looking at my website and absolutely tore it apart. And well, it's funny because he said, Jim, I've known you a long time. He's like, I'm sure you know Simon Sinek's book, It Starts With Why, correct? And of course, yes, Stan, I know about the book. He said, nothing on your website talks about why you're doing this. Like, what is your whole thing? Like, what is a part, like, why are you doing this work? I mean, that's what people want to know. But if you, as a consultant, they want to know, what is it about this profession or this industry that sparks something in you that excites you to make you want to do this work in the first place. So, I kind of started really thinking about that and went back to my origin story a little bit. And if you don't mind, I'll just kind of elaborate on that just really briefly. But so I am a recovering newspaper reporter. I was actually a reporter for about 4 years at the News and Record in Greensboro. And, I got to this point where I knew this wasn't it. I knew I just did not want to be a reporter for the rest of my life. And so I actually went back to my university where I graduated at UNC Greensboro and talked to a career counselor and just asked, I don't know what it is I want to do. I'm not sure. The English degree, the political science degree, the concentration in journalism, what in the world? And she, we talked quite a bit, but she just asked this one question. It was like, well, what is it that you like to do for fun? What is it you enjoy? And it just so happened at the time I was very involved in a community service organization, which, Deborah, I know I'm a Gen Xer. I don't know what millennial generation you tend to fall in necessarily, but right. Well, so what the JCs are. Like, a lot of if anybody who's under Gen X probably doesn't know what even the JCs are. But in Greensboro, we had a very large JC organization, and I was very involved in it. Had served on the board. And anyway, she made some comment to me that, every time you talk about volunteering in this organization, you get this glimmer, just this little sparkle in your eye. And she asked me, have you ever considered about going to work for nonprofit organizations? Actually, and of course, me as a reporter, I'm like, well, I already don't make any money in the newspaper business. Why would I want to work for a nonprofit? They don't make money, right? She's totally opposite. Yeah, she's like, no, despite what you think, nonprofits do make money. So anyway, long story short, I did end up leaving the newspaper business, getting into working for an association, working for the North Carolina Association of Realtors and I was there for about 5 years, went on to be an executive director for AENC, and then working for an association management company. And then, had a brief little stint working for a chamber of commerce. And then after that didn't quite work out the way I was hoping it was going to work out, it gave me sort of pause to think, well, what is next? I don't know what that might look like. And, after serving 25 years in this profession, I just thought, what a great chance to be able to give back in a way that's unique, but also potentially open my own business. And so, because I just have such a passion for what associations do and what they do for our communities. And I thought, I love governance, I love strategic planning, I love membership development. So, like you said, because the bow tie was my brand, it's always been something I've done for many years. Went on ChatGPT and kind of threw out all kinds of random names, and sure enough, the whole tying it together consulting just sort of came to fruition, and sure enough, it happened to be available on GoDaddy as a domain. So here we are tying.
Yay! That's very rare.
I was surprised by that. I think it was very serendipitous.
I bet. Oh, I just love that story. I really do. Yeah, the tie thing, necktie, that is you. And if people don't remember your name, they'll remember the
Right.
necktie. And there's something about you that when you've been in the newspaper industry, I've been in the radio and TV. The beauty of what you're doing right now, Jim, is in consulting. It has to do with a lot of research and homework. You have that background. I can vouch for that. And the research that you do, you bring to fruition. And let me give you an example of what I know about you is your weight loss. Your weight loss, you did something spectacular to where, which tells us about progress. It tells us about setbacks. It tells us about success. Just for you going through the research, the homework of, trying to find out what worked for you in weight loss, and researching all that. And then you did it. Tell us about this.
Oh gosh. Yeah. What a great story. So, yeah, actually one of the things that, again, also somebody I know you're really familiar with, Larry Long, also a professional speaker in our hospitality space. When I had mentioned that I was going to be starting this business, one of the things that he was very adamant about when I was talking about my LinkedIn strategy, he made it very clear that, one of the things you need to make sure to do is talk about your personal journey. Because again, when you think about consultants and what we do in the hospitality space is people do business with people. And so they want to get to know you and your journey. And so I actually did just recently write a blog about my weight loss journey. And it was one of those things where, just to kind of brief recap, but it was back in I think it was 2015. I was over 325 pounds, had never really worked out before, I'd never ran more than a mile in my life. Was on an amusement park ride, or was trying to get on an amusement park ride with my daughter. And as we were getting ready to get on it, the gentleman looked at me and kind of leaned in my ear and asked me how much I weighed. And when I told him, he kind of leaned back into me and said, sir, I'm sorry, but you can't ride this ride together with your daughter. You weigh too much. And it was one of those moments in my life where it just completely just changed me. And I knew that I needed to make a difference and make a change. So like you said, it wasn't a short progress. It's like everything, people always say, I use the phrase in running, it's a marathon, not a sprint, because it really was. It was an 18-month journey. And it was just putting in the hard work. And, I just, again, some trials and tribulations and, and I'm not going to lie, like, 21 and 22 22 and 23, I've probably I got down to just around 215. So I lost about 110 pounds. And like in the past year, I had gotten back up to about 270. But it's one of those things, like, it happens, like I said, I beat myself up all day long, but it's like, what, it happened. And I got back on it. I'm like, all right, I'm back down to about, 235 again. So I'm like, all right, feeling better. But it's one of those things. But I feel like I've also been doing a lot more strength training in the last little bit. So I'm thinking that's more muscle weight,
Right.
So
all these lessons you can learn, and you're such an experienced association professional. You're a leader connector. You're about governance, strategy, people, and purpose. And you even bring that into your personal life is what you're stating. And so that's very, very admirable. I'm very proud of you. And, I don't believe there's ever a destination. There's no finish line. You just every day make yourself better than the day before. Then you
100%.
are being successful and you are being 100%. A winner. So good for you. Good for you. Now,
every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Question for you, because I've been asking this question to people lately. So,
good.
So do you make your bed up every morning? Do you make your bed every morning?
That's the first thing I do every morning.
Love it.
First thing when I get out. Here. Yeah, I think I learned that from my mother. As a matter of fact, my mother always made the bed first. And my dad would say sometimes he'll go to the bathroom and he'll come back and the bed's already made. He's like, I'm trying to get back into bed.
Love it. I'm trying to get back into bed.
Yeah. Well, it's already made, so I guess I'm not going to bed, he says.
Right.
So yeah,
I've been starting to ask that question lately, just because I think it's one of those things
of like. It's a great question. It's a great question, for sure. Okay, now let's get on a serious note here because, again, I think a lot of people want to know your brilliancy in the industry, and you have 25 plus years in it. So my question here is, what in particular do you feel is the most urgent need for associations that really help you serve them? In other words, what's going on in the industry that you need help with?
Well, I think, there's some, I mean, as you know, I mean, like things change so rapidly. I mean, we are seeing things, just 2 years ago, we weren't even talking about the use of, Claude or Gemini or ChatGPT in the workforce like we are today, but now it is literally like a topic of conversation all the time. So I think for organizations, really thinking about how their strategy and how that interplays with how their governance and their membership interplays with each other. I use this particular example, so many organizations years ago would put together these massive, 3 to 5 year strategic plans and think that was, the end all be all. And, I'm almost to the point of when it comes to developing strategic plans is thinking a little bit, almost really more short term in this almost like a 2 to 3 year window, just because again, organizations have got to realize that they've got to be more nimble, more versatile, more innovative. Their members are expecting that. There was a recent study that was done in, I think it was Forbes magazine, that when they surveyed different CEOs, so many of them, because of just the uncertainty of the economy, aren't spending as much time in innovation as they used to be. So it's really upon us as the association community and the profession and industries that we serve to sort of be that innovation outfit, to be that sort of, I guess you call it an incubator of ideas. So, if we can kind of do that with our strategic planning and our governance in that sort of 2 or 3 year window to continuously be nimble, be quick, be forward thinking, just constantly realizing that change is evident, change is apparent, and it's going to happen. So that's kind of where I'm going with my consulting firm, is like just keeping people, trying to keep people at the forefront of what's happening all the time, and always, whether it's developing your board agendas like that, whether it's developing your committee reporting structures like that, whatever the case is. I mean, that governance has to flow through the entire organization. They all have to be pointing up and rapidly.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you see as some of the biggest drivers of change for association professionals, especially new people that are coming up into the industry? What are those biggest changes that they need to know about? Like, give examples.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go back to the AI. I mean, I think that's probably one of the biggest dynamic shifts in that we've seen in recent years. And, one of the things that, and I'm not naming names by any means, but it really kind of terrified me just recently, because who I would refer to as probably one of the biggest industry strategists just recently did a webinar, and on the very first slide made some statement that none of his presentation or information was gathered through the use of AI. And here I'm like, you're supposed to be one of the most innovative, forward-thinking people, and you're not, and you're actually telling people that you're not even using AI at all. I mean, that should be concerning. I mean, to me, just because AI doesn't have to be scary. I mean, you just have to embrace it and humanize it. I mean, there's ways to utilize it in a human aspect that make it something that, I mean, I was just on a call today with a good friend of mine who has developed a company that is literally taking it is literally flipping the tables on developing online learning modules, that he can literally build an entire learning module online with the use of AI within hours, compared to what used to take months. I mean, it's unreal. So, again, it's one of those things. It's like, we have to figure out how can we embrace this and use it and humanize it, and not necessarily look at it from a scary, big thing. Because I mean, people used to say that when the horse and buggy were riding around, and they would see the cars driving down the street, and it would spook the horses, and like people would be like, "Oh, I'll never get behind a wheel of that thing," and we are.
Yeah. So what is your take on the scariest question of all out there is, will it replace humans, especially in the association market?
No. Now, here's the thing. Now, will it replace certain jobs, certain tasks? 100%. But that doesn't mean it needs to replace people. There's a big difference between replacing tasks than replacing people. You know what I mean? I mean, we've seen that happen from in the Industrial Revolution all the way up to now, where, we've modernized technology. It's just a matter of retraining and reschooling. There was years ago that there were absolutely no robotics in an industrial manufacturing facility. But I don't know if you've had a chance to walk into any modern manufacturing facility, but you can eat off the floors. Like, they're absolutely spotless. Yeah. Because so much of it is robotic automation, so, but now that there's still people working there, right? Still people that have to be a part of that. It's just a matter of reschooling and retraining. We've got to be thinking that, now I do admit the day and age of the 4-year college education is probably going to start dwindling, and we're going to see a lot more of this 2-year certifications, credentialing, things like that.
I agree.
And associations should be embracing that, because we're at a precipice where we could be and there was just recently some tax legislation in the, what do you want to call it, the big beautiful bill, that actually allows people to use their 529s to use it for post-secondary certifications and credentials. Because that was always the big concern about getting one of these 529s was, well, what if my son or daughter doesn't go to college in a 4-year school or a 2-year school? What are they going to use it for? Well, now if they become a welder, they could potentially use that 529 for recertifications down the road now, which is fantastic. That's what education is going to be all about now. It's going to be constant relearning and retraining. And that's how we make sure we don't lose that human aspect.
Yeah, I believe learning is a constant, like you mentioned. I just also believe that people, especially in the association market, need to continue to use their brain and creativity more than ever. And AI, like you said, is going to be there to help enhance. But bottom line, you got to keep your brain, your creativity, your mind, your thoughts on the table as well. So we need that human touch more than ever. And I think no matter what events we especially attend to, face-to-face will always be there and should be there. But it's a matter of really utilizing your own, knowledge and wisdom and thoughts and creativity as well.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, so for sure. But what I love about what you're doing is I think the association market can definitely utilize your services in order to make something like that happen. And that's why I'm just so happy when I saw the announcement of your new business, it couldn't have come at a better time. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I mean, that's, one of the key drivers when I think about starting this business is I was talking to a good friend of mine does some contract work for ASAE, and he had mentioned that he had a client that he was working with who had this like grandiose plan as it related to, I think it was like a trade show or some advertising. I can't remember exactly the specifics of it, but when he was talking with them, he asked the question of, do you have a strategic plan that's calling for this? And their response was, no, we just thought it was a good idea. And it's like, and he was like, man, if I had just had you, Jim, to like come in and like help them actually come up with a plan first before they decided to, because how many tech companies or AMS vendors or, non-dues revenue organizations or speakers, conference designers, whatever, like people come to them with these grandiose ideas. And then you ask the question, like, so now what initiative or tactic is this in your strategic plan? Like, what objectives is this supposed to accomplish under what goal area? And they're going, I don't know. We just thought it would be a good idea. Somebody brought it up on a committee meeting. It's like, so, exactly. So it's not part of your strategy? Is that what you're saying?
Right. And it is all about strategy. And I think that's something that we're lacking today because we're getting so caught up on what's happening in the world and not really paying attention and focusing on what's in front of us, what can be done in front of us, and at least take care of what's in front of us. And the
Right.
only way to do
Absolutely.
that is strategically wise and
Yeah.
being focused. So this is,
Yeah.
again, why it's just so exciting to have you on board. And I just know that you're going to be very, very successful. And any association would be so lucky to work with you. I had that pleasure, and I've always remembered that. And you really know how, from different angles of the industry, you already know. You've been a planner, you've been an event planner, you've been the not supplier side, you know it all, and now you're just tying it all together.
That's you did good. I'm impressed.
I ran right into that one, didn't I?
I love it. I could have teed that up better for you.
That's funny. That's funny. Well, I do have one more very important question to ask you, and I know everyone is going to be wondering what it is as well. So, what your answer is, and here it is. What does GMID 2026 mean to you?
Well, without the meetings industry, associations would be basically organizations that are all about just advocacy, governance. I mean, nothing else. I mean, when at the end of the day, one of the biggest ways that an organization can contribute to its member engagement is through its meetings and events. And so to be able to celebrate this week around the hospitality space, around our meeting space, I was so tickled to hear during your build up to today's show around the uptick in meetings and events, because again, it's such a, there's so many people that work in this space, and it does go to show you that no matter whether there's AI or whatever the case is with technology, whether we've gone from, fax machines to email to now AI, we've never lost the people component of that that in-person meeting, that nothing can replace that, So I'm excited to see that now here we are 6 years removed from the pandemic, literally 6 years, not almost this week, that the meetings industry is building back up stronger than ever. Because again, there's really nothing that can replace that ability to be able to get people together, share ideas, share knowledge, make their industry better. I mean, there's just nothing like it.
Yeah, it really is. We're very lucky to land it in this industry, because the broadcast journalism industry, that was great to experience. But right. I really enjoy this industry, and I know you do as well.
Oh, gosh.
I'm just so I just know many people are going to be wanting to talk to you and to work with you. So how can they get in touch with you? Well, we've got some information here. Go ahead and let us know here, Jim.
Yeah, sure. So just my website is tyingittogether.com. You can feel free to email me at jim@tyingittogether.com as well. And there's a booking link on the top of the website. So if you want to just, if you're intrigued and just want to book some time and chat and talk about how we can help reduce some friction in your organization, whether it's governance or membership, glad to help you out.
Oh, good. Well, this has just been such a delight. I know it was quick,
same here.
But you're busy, and we want to make sure that you actually get to the phones.
Right.
And I know I'll see you at many of the industry events while you're letting everybody know this is what you are doing now. And I'm just thrilled that we were able to connect. So again, thank you, Jim, for being with us here on GMID Day 2026. And hopefully everybody enjoyed today's show. And we'll see everybody again. So thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Deborah. I appreciate it.
You bet.